Ms. Bridgewater, the SAP reset date.
November 26th.
Thank you. And let's see, I see that we have Ms. Chansey on. We're going to need her services this afternoon. Good afternoon, Mr. Cook. For what position is that? Do we know?
Your Honor, Mr. Cook is talking to his client right now on the phone.
Oh, okay.
And he's actually talking to Tubman that we spoke about yesterday from Oconee.
Okay.
So he's here today, Your Honor.
All right. And tell me again if you did, who is in need of the interpreter?
It's going to be Charo.
And
that's
position.
number 3.
Okay. And who's his attorney?
That's Cook.
Okay, that's Cook also. Okay, so once Mr. Cook is completed talking with whomever he's talking to at the present time, I guess can we go ahead and put him into a breakout room if he needs to speak with Mr. Charo?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's see, it's right at 2 o'clock. I don't see the prosecutors on.
Is Cook the only attorney today?
No, we have McLean. McLean is supposed to be logging on.
There's Ms. Allen.
Okay, good afternoon, Ms. Allen. So I guess we are waiting for, oh, there goes Mr. McLean. So can we go ahead and while Mr. Cook is interviewing, go ahead and take one of Mr. McLean's cases?
Absolutely.
Yes, Your Honor, position 13, Ms. Wheeler.
Okay. Good afternoon, Ms. Wheeler. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the state court expedited accusation calendar that we're conducting by video, just so that I can tell everyone that's in courtroom 2, and you also, you all have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. You have a right to have an attorney present at these proceedings. We're providing you with the assistance of a public defender this afternoon if you choose to utilize their services. Ms. Wheeler, you have been charged in case 24 CR 007615Y with battery family violence and simple battery family violence. Good afternoon, Mr. Howard. Is there a history?
Second arrest, 2021, simple battery, criminal damage to property, 2nd degree, dismissed. That's it.
Yes, Ms. Allen, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. This is an incident from April of this year, April the 30th of 2024. Police were called to 2989 Wanda Circle Southwest. There they met with the victim. His name is Kevin Kevil, Kevil. He and the defendant share a child. The address is his residence. He made the incident report, said that the defendant came to his location and was angry with him about their co-parenting and his participation. She got out of her vehicle. He started recording her with his phone. She grabbed him by his hair and threw him to the ground and assaulted him by striking him. He was seen to have visible scratches on his arms and his face. The defendant then fled the scene before police arrived. The victim showed police the surveillance that he took and identified the defendant for them. We have spoken to Mr. Kevil today. He reports that he and the defendant are no longer in a relationship, but he confirmed what happened. He confirmed that they share a child. And he says this is not the first time that there's been violence, but the first time he had video evidence, that they don't have any contact and he does not want to have any contact. So we're requesting a no contact and to stay away from that address, 2989, excuse me, Wanda Circle Southwest. And since this is her second arrest, we're asking for a SOB through pretrial, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. Thank you.
Mr. Kevil is on the line and wishes to address the court. Now is your opportunity to do so. Good afternoon, Mr. McLean. Any objections to any of the state's requests?
I can't think of it.
Okay. As such, for the battery, family violence, it'll be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. For the simple battery, family violence, a $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1 makes for a total of a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. No further contact with Mr. Cavill. Stay away from the Wanda Circle address. Third-party transfer of any minor children for visitation. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Ms. Wheeler.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you.
You're welcome.
What was that bond amount, Your Honor?
Total $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Who do we have next?
Next, we're gonna go to position number 10, Ms. Mercedes Pierce.
Okay. Good afternoon. Ms. Pierce, you have been charged in case 24 CR 007613D with battery family violence, 2 counts of battery family violence. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
23. Got an open battery DV out of the cab. 2023 simple battery DV conviction, 2 of them. 2021 battery DV arrest, 2018 simple battery DV conviction, 2018 trespass conviction, 2018 FTA, 2017 obstruction trespass conviction.
Thank you, Ms. Allen.
Thank you, Your Honor. This happened November the 11th. Police were called to 9995 Old Dogwood Road in Roswell. There they met with the victim. His name is Joey Hogue, Hogue. This location is an economy hotel, and police responded to room 306 where the victim, Mr. Hogue, opened the door. He was seen to have visible marks, scratches on his face, his neck, and his arms, as well as a obviously blackened eye. While on scene, police observed the defendant, Mrs. Mercedes Pierce. She was yelling at the victim. They separated the parties to try to determine what happened. The victim reported that there'd been a verbal argument when he refused to take her to buy some substances that she wanted, and she assaulted him by scratching him and punching him. He was seen to have fresh blood on his body and his injuries, and there was fresh blood on the bed as well. Your Honor, the defendant has criminal history out of Wisconsin, Florida, and Georgia. She's a convicted felon, and that includes aggravated assault, assault on law enforcement officers, multiple drug cases, as well as a June arrest in DeKalb County for battery family violence. And on October the 17th, she was arrested in Doraville for battery family violence. She's got 2 convictions for simple battery family violence out of Douglasville from 2023. We have been in touch with Mr. Hogue today. He reports that they live at the incident location and they're in a relationship, and they just found out that she's pregnant. He's not in fear of her, and he wants to continue contact. He also told our office that she's newly pregnant, which is interesting because one of the conditions of her 2023 case out of Douglas County with victim Katina Pierce with the same last name is that she followed through with substance abuse treatment and the DFACS plan. So when they talk about her being pregnant on the jail calls, they discuss that they're going to have to leave the state to have this baby because she's got this open DFACS case for her other children. There's obviously a substance abuse issue going on here, and there should be concerns for any children in the presence of this young woman. And although Mr. Hogue may be in a relationship and feel it's in his best interest to continue contact, the state does not agree. So we'd be asking for a $2,000 surety at least, Your Honor, if you're not inclined to do a cash bond, seeing as she's out on bond on 2 separate battery family violence arrests since June. Absolutely no contact with Mr. Hogue, and his first name is Joey, Hogue. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons, and to stay away from the economy hotel there at 9995 Old Dogwood Road. Thank you. And if you would sound for Mr. Hogue, he may be joining us.
If Mr. Hoag is on the line and wishes to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. I see you there, Mr. Hoag. If you want to speak to the court, now is your opportunity. You certainly don't have to, but if you want to, this is your opportunity. You'd have to unmute yourself, activate your camera. And I
Okay,
have-
I'm trying to right now. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I need to see you as well.
Okay, I I don't know how to get to my things to see the
Mr. Hogg, are you receiving the prompt to start your video?
it's just saying the host. Okay. It's saying unable to access camera, allow Zoom. It's not letting me do it.
Well, maybe if you log out and log back in, and accept the video, I'll give you the opportunity to see if that works. Hey, Mr.
Okay.
Hoag? All right,
Yes.
so
Yes, sir.
you log out and log back in and see if that works.
Okay. Give me 1 second. Let me
Okay.
see.
While I wait on that, Mr. McLean,
Your Honor, and all court realize the arrest record is not good, but with the open case, of course, we do have the presumption of innocence, and perhaps there are more facts that would come out that would indicate that she is not guilty of the. Would emphasize that, Your Honor, she is industrious. She works at McDonald's, and she has worked at IHOP for 2 years as a hostess, and she's got 3 years of studying business, and so there are definitely very good factors involved with her, as well as the arrest. So we would ask the court to consider as low a bond as possible. If a signature bond is out of the works, out of the possibility realm, we would ask the court to consider a $1,000 surety bond. Your Honor, there is some. I heard the state with its concerns, which are reasonable in terms of what's going on. There is a level 4 if Your Honor was to go with a, if Your Honor were to go with a signature bond, there is a level 4 that involves a weekly field visit, and so we'd ask the court to even consider that.
okay. Ms. Strong, did Mr. Hoag try to log back in?
No, sir.
Okay,
Oh, no, not yet.
all right. Well, I've given him the opportunity to log out and log back in. That shouldn't take but a moment. All right, as such, it's gonna be a $1,500 good bond per charge, makes for a total of a $3,000 good bond. No further contact with Mr. Hoag. Stay away from the Economy Hotel on Old Dogwood Road. She can go back to that location on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings. An alcohol drug evaluation and treatment if necessary, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Okay, good luck to you, Ms. Pierce.
Your Honor, Mr. Hoag is on now.
Okay, there he goes. Mr. Hoag, if you can unmute yourself.
Yes.
All right, raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Hoag, what's your relationship with Ms. Pierce?
She's my fiance, and I just found out that she's pregnant with my baby.
And tell me about this incident.
It was a freak incident, and I didn't even know she was pregnant. She didn't know she was pregnant, and we got into an argument. And I mean, it was a freak incident.
Well, you call the police?
I I thought the neighbors called them. I mean, I did push 911, but I thought it hung up. I didn't know that it went through.
Okay, so you did find it necessary to call the police.
Well, I I I did, but I didn't. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want to, but I did.
Okay,
Call.
so you felt it necessary that you couldn't handle the situation yourself, so you call the police.
Yes.
Okay. And has this happened before?
It's happened like not where it's been like this. No, not like
Okay.
this.
And how many, and do you all live together at that Economy Hotel?
Yes,
And who else lives there with the two of you?
just us.
Okay. And where are the other children?
My children are her, cause she has a son that lives with her mom, and then but my two kids are grown.
Okay. All right, so Mr. Hogue, I've already made a ruling in this matter. Until this is sorted out, you and Ms. Pierce are not to have any contact. So if you all have any contact, she's going to be in violation of my bond order, and and it will be revoked, and she's going to be right back where she is. So until this is sorted out, she's going to have to find someplace else to reside. Okay, so just letting you know that if you all are around each other and she gets caught, she's gonna be in violation of the bond.
Okay,
All right. Good luck to you, Mr. Hogue.
all right. And there's nothing I mean, I just found out that I'm gonna be a dad. There's nothing I mean,
Well, it's my understanding that she might have some other issues that we're gonna look into that might involve drugs and alcohol. So I've ordered that she have a drug and alcohol evaluation. I will also, if she doesn't make bond, I'll also see her
ca-
back in 2 weeks and I'll get a report on that matter.
okay. Um, I mean, as far as the bond thing, can just I just want her to take care of my child. I just found out that she was pregnant.
Okay,
Right.
I understand, and she has a bond, so if she's able to bond out, she'll be able to get out. Okay?
Okay.
All right. You have a good day, sir.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Who do we have next?
Good afternoon, Judge.
Afternoon, Francois. Good to see you as always.
Thank you. Good to see you as well. I was trying to figure out what's going on with Mr. Cook. Any updates?
I'm not sure. He was speaking with someone earlier, and I know that he has to speak with the Spanish interpreter, so we're waiting on that as well. So I'm not sure if he's still interviewing someone or not.
I think he has to log back on.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
because
is this Mr. Cook's client that we have here?
Yes,
no,
it is, Judge.
Okay. So as soon as he logs back on, I will come back to you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
and courtroom 2 is going to be position number 8, Mr. Rafael Hernandez.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Hernandez. You have been charged in case 24 CR 007612F with simple battery, stalking, and reckless conduct. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
12 total. Last arrest was in September. Possession of drug-related objects. Possession of a firearm during the commission. Criminal trespass. Possession of a Schedule 2. Got 2024 FTA. 2024 theft by taking open. 2023 probation. 2022 disorderly conduct, simple battery, first offender. 2021 simple battery, trespass, first offender.
Ms. Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident that occurred back in February. It looks like the incident was reported, surveillance was reviewed that captured the incident. An investigator was assigned through APD, and on August the 15th, warrants were obtained. At about 10:30 a.m., police were alerted right outside of the APD Public Safety Headquarters at 226 Peachtree Street by the victim, in this case, David Hughes, that he'd been assaulted. The defendant is the person who assaulted him and is known to him. Mr. Hernandez is on bond and currently supervised in a superior court case. It was originally charged as an aggravated assault, but because he's an attorney, he was allowed to plead to misdemeanors. He has a sentence that he's still under for 59 months. I'm not that great at math, but that's more than 4 years. The disposition was 2022. And that sentence disposition requires him to have no contact with Mr. Hughes. So when Mr. Hughes reported that he'd been assaulted by Mr. Hernandez, police responded and reviewed the surveillance, and it shows Mr. Hernandez follow Mr. Hughes up the concrete steps there in front of headquarters, stop him, prevent him from continuing to go up the steps, and shove him, causing him to lose his balance and almost fall. Luckily, he didn't. So, Your Honor, there's a long history between these two people, and I'm not sure what the issue is. I did see when reviewing criminal history and some of the information you just saw or were told about, on September the 19th in 2024, the defendant in front of you was arrested in Clayton County. And I just obtained that police report. And again, it includes, very similar to the instant case that he's on probation for, him showing up at a house where they have a mutual person that they know, uninvited. He's in possession of felony drugs and a firearm. So he's currently out on bond after that felony arrest. And conveniently or coincidentally, the victim, David Hughes, was there as well. Mr. Hughes says that the person at the house in Clayton County is his current girlfriend. So I'm going to review this and look at a potential upgrade to aggravated stalking, but the basis for the stalking today, Your Honor, is continued unwanted contact. There's an order in place. This is captured on surveillance. The defendant in front of you clearly approaches Mr. Hughes and assaults him. And the reckless behavior doing so on these concrete steps is what we're here in front of you today for. So that's 3 different charges, Your Honor. We're asking for a $3,000 cash bond, $1,000 on each of these charges. No contact with Mr. Hughes, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons, and to stay away from wherever he may reside. And if you would call for Mr. Hughes, he is on the Zoom. Mr. Hughes, I don't want to go into a large recitation of what the history is here, but I appreciate you being here. Thank you, Your Honor.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor.
Well, good afternoon, Mr. Hughes. If you'd like to speak to the court, I'll need for you to raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay, you can place your hand down, Mr. Hughes. Thank you. Go ahead. What would you like to tell the court?
I'd like to tell the court that Rafael Hernandez seemed to be emboldened. He constantly hangs in my neighborhood, not far from my house. I can go out, hear my dogs barking. He'll be down there. Lately, he's been dressed in all black, carrying a backpack. Some people warned me that he had recently purchased a firearm. And on the day when he pushed me, he said he should have killed me, and he's going to kill me. So basically, I'm a little bit in fear of him, even though I'm a soldier in the Army, and it's veteran or soldier. But my thing is, that's how I kept my balance that day, because I didn't want to, be on the ground. Now, anything can happen at any time. I know he's upset. I just cannot believe that he's so emboldened to keep coming where I'm at, see me, even hang around my house. He's just a problem, and I just don't know how to handle it. The only reason why I didn't show up at the revocation hearing because my son was graduating at the Air Force that same exact day. So I was out of town, didn't want to miss his basic training. Now I'm seeing where drugs are, highly involved. So when a person in drugs and they can do anything, just don't care. So I just don't know how to handle him, what to do about it. And like I said, he did that. I don't know how he knew I was at court that day. I don't know. We don't know how he found my friend's home. So he knows how to track people. He's a tech person out here. So I just really hope y'all could make sure I remain safe. But even when you tell him don't contact me, he still does, and hang feet from my home. So I don't really know what else much to say. But he's not a friend of mine. He's told people we're friends, but we're not friends. And he's just a dangerous person, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you for being here this afternoon, Mr. Hughes. I encourage you to keep in touch with the solicitor's office in this matter and maybe get some advice on getting a protective order or something of that nature. All right.
Yes, sir.
Mr. McLean.
Your Honor, my 37-year-old client is educated at the Washington College of Law of American University in DC. He is a parent right now, as it happens. He is determined to, I believe, try to put this past him, and if the court has conditions, he knows that they are important to follow. He's local. He's been in Georgia 35 years. He's 37 years old, so I guess he came here when he was 2 and went away to school. I've got his friend's information. I've got a stable address. There shouldn't be any problem with coming back to court for his court dates. We would ask the court to consider a signature bond or any surety bond that is low.
I don't know if Mr. Hernandez does know how to follow rules, given that he's not supposed to be around Mr. Hughes, and he allegedly has continued to be around Mr. Hughes and will place himself in proximity to him. Given all that I've been told in this matter, I'm going to take the state's recommendation. It's going to be $1,000 cash bond for each charge. Makes for a total of a $3,000 cash bond. No further contact with David Hughes. Stay away from Mr. Hughes's residence. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you all. Okay, I think that Mr. Cook is in the breakout room with the interpreter, so we'll get to his cases as soon as he comes back out. Can we take any more of Mr. McLean's cases?
Your Honor, we're gonna go with position number 7, Mr. Sean Harvey. I think that's McLean. McLean, that's you, correct?
That's correct.
All right.
How you doing, Your Honor?
I'm doing well, Mr. Harvey. I hope you are as well. You have been charged in case 24 CR 007610G with willful obstruction of law enforcement officers and driving with a window tint violation. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
Harvey, second, 2023, possession of a Schedule 2 controlled substance out of Cobb County. That's it.
Ms. Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. The defendant was the driver when police initiated a traffic stop on the 11th of November, right after midnight. On Dunwoody and Robert Street in Sandy Springs, police noticed the illegal window tint on the vehicle that the defendant was driving. They had initiated a traffic stop and approached the passenger side. While speaking to the passenger, they realized he was making furtive movements and asked him to get out of the vehicle. He was found to be in possession of ecstasy with intent to distribute. He's on first appearance today. The young man in front of you was the driver. He was asked to exit the vehicle. And at that point, he fled from police on foot. And he was apprehended. He refused to follow commands and provide his arms to be handcuffed. He's on bond for a felony drug case out of Cobb County, Your Honor. So we're asking for $1,000 surety, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons, and no contact with his co-defendant, Andrew Melvin.
Mr. McLean.
Your Honor, my 23-year-old client has attended Westlake High School. He not only has an ambition to get his GED, he's actually started work on it and has done several weeks worth of work towards that goal. He works at a salad place, and he worked for 4 years for FedEx and at Ross's for a year before that, so he is industrious. The charges here have to do with the tint on the windows and refusing verbal commands. I imagine that was probably, according to the police report, I think they probably said stop or something like that. Under the circumstances, Your Honor, we would like to ask the court to consider a signature bond, as it is his second arrest, the young person at age 23.
All right, for the obstruction, it'll be $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. For the window tint, a $500 signature bond through pretrial level 1. Makes for a total of a $1,500 signature bond through pretrial level 1. You're to continue taking classes to obtain your GED, Mr. Harvey. You're to have no further contact with Andrew Melvin, and no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, sir.
Next is going to be Mr. Marshall.
Hey, how you doing? I'm doing well, Mr. Marshall. Let's see, you have been charged in case 24 CR 007611A with 2 counts of simple battery, family violence, theft by taking, and interference with custody. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
2017 battery DV, trespass, first offender. 2015 FTA. 2014 battery DV conviction. That's it.
Sound.
Thank you, Your Honor. So you did hear pretrial just announce that this defendant has a prior battery DV conviction as well as a prior felony battery DV conviction based on his 2 cases. Today, you don't have a battery in front of you, and that's why he's in this court, not felony court. This is an incident from March of last year. The defendant has had a warrant out for his arrest for a period of time, and there have been multiple reports filed since March about the same issues between the defendant and the victim in this case. I did some research myself today. So police were called to 3200 Cushman Circle Southwest at about 11:44 a.m. on the 3rd of March last year. And there they met with the victim. Her name is Jatonya, Jatonya, last name Hill. She reported that while walking outside with the 4-year-old little boy that she shares with this defendant, her little boy's name is Lorenzo Marshall, his name is Corenzo Marshall, II, just like daddy. That while walking outside with her child, the defendant arrived on foot, assaulted her by grabbing her by her hair, slapping her in the face, shoving her to the ground, and kicking her and striking her in front of the child that they share. She didn't have any visible injuries on her when the police report was made, but she does report that she received bruising as a result. As we know, bruises develop over time and don't often show up immediately, especially if someone is maybe lighter or darker complexioned. There's some variables there. So the defendant took her phone when he fled, and he fled on foot. She made a police report. A DV investigator was assigned, and he followed up with her. Warrants were obtained in April of 2024. That's a whole year later. So this isn't a case that we've known about or we're sitting on. He wasn't arrested for a year after this incident was reported, and there weren't warrants until a year afterwards. But the detectives did follow up with the victim. She reported being slapped in the face. She corroborated the things that had occurred. And she reported that there had been tension between the two of them because they had broken up. And that when he left the scene, he didn't just take her phone, he took their 4-year-old child. And there are repeated police reports since then, in and around that same time period between March and May of 2023, reporting damage to the property of the victim, as well as interfering with the custody of that same child. There is a TPO ex parte that was issued in March last year. There was a private warrant applied for in March of last year. The TPO was only not extended for a full 12 months because the defendant was unable to be located and served, Your Honor. We've spoken with the victim today, Mrs. Hill. She reports that they do share this child, that there has been no violence since this last incident, although she did just have to call the police on November the 9th, so 3 days ago, and that's why he was arrested, because his warrant popped up. She had to call the police on November the 9th because he took their child out of her car and left with the child. So, Your Honor, the concern here is the safety of the child, that this defendant is not the legitimized father of and has no legal rights to. The multiple reports of damage, interference with custody, and assault that have been made by the same victim to APD since before March of 2023. And that doesn't even include the fact that this gentleman has 2 prior battery family violence convictions from 2014 and 2017. So based on that information, we're asking for a $4,000 cash bond, Your Honor. Absolutely no contact with Ms. Hill. Stay away from wherever she may reside at this point, and no contact with the child, Corenzo Marshall Jr., unless this defendant has been legitimized and has access legally through an order of Superior Court. Thank you. And if you would sound for Mrs. Hill, I don't think she's here, but just in case.
Mr. Tanya Hill is on the line and wishes to address the court. Now is your opportunity to do so. Doesn't appear so. Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, my client is 33 years old and he is a high school graduate. He has worked very steadily at one employer, Taco Bell, for 12 years as a cook, over a decade. So that's very stable employment. He has a stable address. He won't have any problem getting his court notices. And thank goodness this is a simple battery. So, charge. So we would ask the court to consider as low a bond as possible. If that doesn't include the idea of a signature bond, we'd like to ask the court to consider a $1,000 or $1,500 surety.
Right, for each of the simple battery charges, it'll be a $500 good bond. For the theft by taking, it'll be a $500 good bond. For the interference with custody, it'll be a $1,000 good bond. Makes for a total of a $2,500 good bond. No further contact with Jatanya Hill. Stay away from her residence until the child is legitimized or there's some type of arrangement in place. No further contact with the minor child, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Marshall. Given that Mr. Cook, yes.
That was 155 and 5.
500 for each of the simple batteries, 500 for the theft, and 1,000 for the interference.
Gotcha. I had it backwards. All right.
Okay. All right. So given that Mr. Cook is back, I think we only have one more at ACDC. Can we go ahead and let ACDC take ACDC so they can go? Is that right? We only have one there, Francois?
Yes, that is correct, Judge. Thank you.
Okay. So let's go ahead and yes.
I don't know if you guys want to do Tutman. I know there's a Riverside issue with that you was talking about yesterday. So,
Well, I don't know if there's gonna be an argument for a Riverside issue. I think that I will hear the argument, but because that it wasn't on the state. Let me go ahead and let AC/DC go first so that they can go on about their business, and then I'll handle that, okay?
all right.
Is that all right?
Fine with
Okay,
me.
all right, thank you. Tell me again who we have at AC/DC?
This is number 5, Collier.
Okay. Good afternoon, Ms. Collier. You have been charged in case 24 CR 007609C with battery, family violence, and cruelty to children in the 3rd degree. Is your history, Mr. Howard?
Ninth arrest, 2021 disorderly, 2015 simple battery dismissed.
Okay, Ms. Allen?
I apologize. 1 second. Mrs. Collier,
Yes. Position number 5.
go ahead, Mrs. Desiana.
Sorry, that's my case.
Oh, okay.
Your Honor, this incident took place on November 11th at 3913 Harbor Lakes Parkway. This is the residence of the victim, Javon Hunter. These parties have a child together. Officers responded to a domestic dispute. Upon arrival, they made contact initially with the defendant, who stated that she was pulled out of her car and struck on the head and choked, and then she blacked out and couldn't remember anything else that had happened. When officers asked if she could identify the person who attacked her, she could not provide a description. The victim, Javon Hunter, then, while police were on scene, came walking up. This is an apartment complex. He was walking up from the front of the complex with the party's infant child in a stroller, initials TH. He told police that the defendant came to his residence to drop off their child, and there was an argument that had happened from the day before that had bled over into the incident date. He says that the defendant tried to run him over, and when she did that, he then pulled her out of the car and took the car and drove it to the front of the apartment complex to get their child away from the situation, and then walked back up to the location without her vehicle with the child in the stroller. When the victim came back to the location with the stroller, while in the presence of officers, the defendant ran and attacked the defendant, striking him multiple times. The victim sustained a cut on his left cheek. And based on the conflicting stories of what had happened prior to police arrival, the police didn't charge any charges associated with the events that took place prior to police arrival. However, the defendant is charged for attacking the victim in the presence of officers. We've been in touch with Mr. Hunter today. I believe he's also on the Zoom. He states these parties do not live together. They do share a child. They're no longer in a relationship. He states that the defendant also hit him with an umbrella, tried to run him over. He took her car. He states that this is the first time this has ever happened. They've never had any violent altercations prior. He states that he is not in fear and is okay with continuing contact. Your Honor, the state's recommending, based on her criminal history, a $2,000 surety bond on the battery, a $500 surety bond on the cruelty, no further violent contact, anger management courses, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol. We would certainly recommend at this point that these parties, if they're going to do custody exchanges, do so through a third party, since this incident did happen at a custody exchange. We'll leave that in the court's discretion. If Your Honor can sound for Mr. Hunter.
Mr. Hunter, I see you on the line. If you would like to address the court, now is your opportunity. I would need for you to activate your camera, and I'll have to swear you in.
It won't let me. He say the host has disabled it. Okay, I'm on now.
All
How
right,
you doing?
I'm doing well, Mr. Hunter. Let's see. Can you raise your right hand for me, sir?
Yes, sir.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can place your hand down. What would you like to tell the court?
I just want to let y'all know she an amazing mother. You see what I'm saying? Like she didn't deserve that. We just had an altercation the day before. Somehow my nosy neighbors got involved and ended up calling the police. Like we don't even have that goes on. You see what I'm saying? But just this specific day, the police got involved, and it's like my fiance for real. And we just had a little small altercation. And when she pulled up, she got her guard up so much that when she pulled up, she just overdid it a little bit. And that's all. She don't need to be in there.
How old is your child?
She just turned 1.
Okay. And you'll share custody of her?
Yes, sir.
All right. You're not in fear of her?
No, sir. Not at
And
all. It's I was planning on marrying the next week on our anniversary. Like it's just a lot going on.
And the child, do you share custody of the child?
Yes, sir. We do.
All right. Thank you for being here this afternoon, Mr. Hunter.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
Mr. Cook, you're on mute, Mr. Cook.
My client is 27 years old, and her position is a lot happened before the police arrived. Apparently, a bystander called the police. She was pulled out of the car and was knocked out for some period of time. Can't identify that person, but suspects it was the alleged victim here. At any rate, the police were there by the time he came back around with the child in the stroller and without the car. So
I'm sorry, Mr. Cook, I'm not understanding what you're telling me. Can you? I don't understand what the scenario that you're. Start over again for me. I don't.
Okay, sure. She came to drop the child off. Her position is that somebody pulled her out of the car and knocked her unconscious.
Somebody like she doesn't know the person that pulled her out.
Well, she didn't see him. She suspects it was the alleged victim in this case. She didn't see him, or she didn't see the person. And the police were called by a bystander apparently, and then when the police got there, the alleged victim came back around in view with the child in a stroller. Apparently, the stroller had been in the car. Where the car was, I do not know at that moment. And apparently, that's where the police pick up what they witnessed. So her position is this altercation was started well before the police arrived. Again, as Ms. Desiano said, she can't ID the person. She did not see the person, but
if she believes that it was Mr. Hunter in that regard, then what you're saying is that I should follow the advice of Ms. Desiano and there should be no further contact at this point.
No, my client does not want further contact, Your Honor. None. Okay. And the child has not been legitimated, so she does not believe he should be given visitation rights with the child either.
Okay. Anything further, Mr. Cook?
We would be seeking a signature bond at whatever level the court deems appropriate.
Okay. If nothing further for the battery, it'll be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. For the cruelty, $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1 makes for a total of a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. No further contact with Mr. Hunter. She's to stay away from his residence until the child is legitimated. There's to be no further contact, or I guess at her discretion, if she is the primary caretaker, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Okay?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Good luck to you, Ms. Collier.
Thank you.
Okay, can
All
we
right,
go
thank you,
ahead?
Judge.
Yes, y'all have a good afternoon.
Thank you. You do the
Appreciate it.
same.
Thank you. Can we go ahead and do Ms. Chancey's case as she has to go? So let's see. This is Mr. Charo. If you'll raise your right hand for me, Ms. Chancey.
Yes, sir.
Do you swear or affirm that you will translate from English to Spanish and Spanish to English to the best of your ability?
Yes, sir, I do.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Charo. You have been charged in case 24 CR 007607H with battery family violence.
Buenas tardes, señor Charo. Usted ha sido acusado en el caso 24CR 007607H con golpes y lesiones, violencia familiar.
It's my understanding that Mr. Charo's only history is a 2019 alien inadmissibility.
Entiendo que el señor Charro tiene un antecedente del 2019 por indocumentación como inmigrante.
Estaciana.
Señora Daciano,
That's my understanding as well, Your Honor.
yo también entiendo lo mismo, señoría.
This incident took place on November 11th in a vehicle around 400 northbound in Hammond Drive.
Este incidente ocurrió el 11 de noviembre en un vehículo en la autopista 400 hacia el norte en Hammond Drive.
The victim in this case is Maria Oriana Castro, and she's the defendant's wife.
La víctima es María Orellana Castro y es la esposa del acusado.
She advised that she was arguing with her husband in the car.
Y ella declaró que estaba discutiendo con su esposo en el automóvil.
At some point during the argument, the defendant began to hit the victim in the face, head, and back.
En un momento, en medio de la discusión, el acusado comenzó a golpear a la víctima en la cara, en la cabeza y espalda.
While the call was being dispatched, the 911 operator stated they could see the defendant striking the victim outside on traffic camera footage.
Mientras se hacía la llamada al 911, la operadora declaró que se podía ver al acusado golpeando a la víctima desde afuera, en lo que grababa la cámara exterior.
The victim had several bruises to her face.
Y la víctima recibió moretones en la cara.
We've been in touch with the victim today.
Hemos contactado a la víctima hoy.
She states the parties are married and live together.
Ella declaró que las partes están casadas y viven juntos.
And they have a child together.
Y tienen un hijo juntos.
She stated they were driving in the car and the defendant kept hitting the brakes too hard, and she told him to stop because she was concerned that he would cause an accident.
Ella declaró que estaban viajando en el auto y el acusado golpeaba el freno demasiado, lo pisaba muy fuerte y ella le dijo que dejara de hacerlo porque le preocupaba que pudiese causar un accidente.
The victim stated the defendant then told her to shut up and not tell him what to do.
La víctima declaró que el acusado le dijo que cerrara la boca y no le dijera lo que él tenía que hacer.
After that, the defendant did it again and nearly struck a vehicle.
Después de eso, el acusado lo volvió a hacer y casi golpea a otro vehículo.
She again told him he needed to be careful, and that's when he began to hit her.
Ella de nuevo le dijo que dejara, que necesitaba ser tener cuidado y fue entonces cuando él comenzó a golpearla de nuevo.
She said when she tried to call the police, the defendant took her phone and she had to get out of the car to ask for help.
Ella dijo que cuando trató de llamar a la policía, el acusado le sacó el teléfono y ella tuvo que salir del carro para buscar ayuda.
She states this is not the first time the defendant's been violent towards her and that she has called the police multiple times, but the defendant's never been arrested because she did not have visible injuries.
Ella declaró que esta no es la primera vez que el acusado ha sido violento hacia ella y que ha llamado a la policía múltiples veces, pero el acusado nunca es arrestado debido a que ella no presenta lesiones visibles en ella.
She's in fear and does not want contact and would like the defendant to stay away from the residence, which is 5675 Roswell Road, apartment 35C in Sandy Springs.
Ella le teme y no quiere tener contacto y quisiera que el acusado se mantenga distanciado de la residencia que es el 5675 de Roswell Road, el departamento 35C, localizado en Sandy Springs.
The state's requesting a signature bond through pretrial, no further contact with the victim, stay away from 5675 Roswell Road, apartment 35C, anger awareness, and no weapons, drugs, or alcohol while on bond.
La fiscalía pide una fianza bajo firma a través de los servicios previos al juicio, no más contacto con la víctima, mantenerse distanciado del 5675 de Roswell Road, el departamento 35C, que reciba un curso de manejo de la ira y queda prohibido el uso de armas, drogas y alcohol mientras esté libre bajo fianza.
And Madam Interpreter, if you could sound for Miss Maria Oriana Castro, it's my understanding she does not speak English. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Señora Ana María Orellana Castro, ¿se encuentra usted en la plataforma de Zoom? Por favor, prenda su cámara y su micrófono para que podamos hablar con usted. Por favor. Señora Ana María Orellana Castro, ¿me escucha?
It doesn't appear that she's with us.
No parece estar aquí con nosotros.
Mr. Cook?
Yes,
Señor Cook.
my client is 30 years old. He works in construction. He's between jobs at the moment. His
Mi cliente
position,
tiene 30 años de edad y trabaja en construcción y está en este momento entre encontrar un trabajo.
his position is that his wife or the alleged victim was the first to strike, and she was the primary aggressor in this case.
Su posición es que su esposa o la víctima alegada fue la primera en golpear y fue la agresora primaria en este caso.
However, he does have a place to stay until this is resolved. So we have no objection to the stay away or to the signature bond. We would object to the anger awareness.
Sin embargo, él tiene un lugar en donde quedarse, o sea, no hay objeción de mantenerse distanciado o de ante una fianza bajo firma, pero él objeta por el curso de manejo de la ira.
Okay, it will be a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1.
Va a ser una fianza bajo firma de $3,000 a través de los servicios previos al juicio en el nivel 1.
1 day anger awareness.
Debe tomar una clase de manejo de la ira de un día.
No further contact with Ms. Castro.
No tener más contacto alguno con la señora Castro.
Stay away from the Roswell Road address.
Debe mantenerse distanciado de la dirección de Roswell Road.
He can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings.
Él puede regresar a esa dirección solo en una ocasión con un oficial de la fuerza del orden para retirar sus pertenencias personales.
Third party transfer of any minor children for visitation.
Para la visita con los menores se debe utilizar una tercera persona o parte para el transporte de los menores.
No driving a vehicle without a valid license.
Queda prohibido manejar un vehículo sin una licencia válida.
And no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
También queda prohibido el uso de drogas, alcohol y armas mientras esté libre bajo fianza.
Good luck to you, sir.
Buena suerte, señor.
Thank you.
Are we in need of Madam Interpreter for anything else this afternoon? If not, thank you so much, Ms. Chancey. We appreciate you being here.
You're welcome, sir. My pleasure. Thank you.
Have a good afternoon.
You too. Bye-bye.
Who do we have next?
Your Honor, this is gonna be Mr. Tutman, position number 12.
Okay. Good afternoon. Mr. Tutman, you have been charged in case 24 CR 007567Y with simple battery family violence. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
He wasn't on my pull sheet.
Okay, do you have the history, Ms. Desiano?
I do, Your Honor. Mr. McLean, have you talked to him yet?
We have not.
I talked to him.
Okay, great.
Okay. Yes, Judge, he has. Let me find my notes here. Five cycles, he's got an open battery from September. He has another battery family violence from 2023 and a cruelty to children that was dismissed. He has a 2019 first offender conviction for armed robbery. He has an open burglary case, is my understanding, and a 2017 burglary case with no disposition, and a 2016 entering auto with no disposition. So that, Judge, if you recall from yesterday, I'll go through some of it for the record. This is an incident that took place on September 5th. On September 10th, the defendant was arrested for the open battery family violence case against the same victim. And it looks like these warrants were not taken out for this incident until November 25th. So that's why the warrants were not caught when he was arrested on the 10th for another incident involving the victim, whose name is Jamisha Melford. They have children together. In this instance, the officers responded to 1177 Lucille Avenue. Jamisha Melford stated the defendant arrived home yelling at her to clean the house. She stated that she went to the bathroom to keep the kids from seeing the argument. Once inside the room, the argument turned physical. The defendant punched her in the head several times. The defendant was the 2023 battery case that was dismissed, was against the same victim as well from at the same incident location, Your Honor. And that case was dismissed because the victim did not show up to court. So at this point, you have two cases with really three cases, but two open cases involving the same victim with this person. He was ordered by Judge Mincy on September 10th to have no contact with this victim and stay away from the incident location. So we're asking for the same conditions in this case. This case predates that case, so he's not technically in violation, but of course there's a concern for the victim's safety given that there's multiple cases against the same victim. And we're asking for a $3,000 surety bond. And that's all for this case, Your Honor. And to the extent I don't expect the defense to argue this, I explained to Mr. McLean, we spoke over the phone, that there was a possible Riverside issue that was argued yesterday. given the defendant was arrested. He wasn't actually served these warrants until October 8th. This case was supposed to appear on Saturday's SEA. The state was ready to move forward at that time. Oconee stated they needed a court production order. A court production order was prepared and done. And yesterday, he was still not produced. And it's my understanding that Your Honor said that based on hasn't even made bond on his other battery case, and he has a pending burglary matter with no bond, that this was not good, that Riverside would not be triggered. But to the extent the defense argues that today, that's the state's argument on that position. Thank you.
What bond was given on September 10th?
He was given a $2,000 surety bond, Your Honor.
2,000, good. And that okay, thank you, Ms. Essiano. Yes, Mr. Cook.
Yes, Your Honor. We wouldn't argue Riverside. Riverside only applies to a warrantless arrest. I just got into this, obviously, kind of moments ago. However, he has been in jail for 64 days. There was a probation violation. He tells me he got 90 days, 2 for 1, so that would be 45 days. So there is the 17-426, the OCGA statute that says he should have been brought before a judge within 72 hours. So we would not argue Riverside. We would argue the 17-426. Beyond that, I believe he got today, I'm assuming on the burglary charge, a $700 surety bond in court earlier today. Must have been felony court. So we would be arguing that he is entitled to a signature bond given the long period without being presented to a judge.
He got a $700.
That's what he said. That confused me a little bit. I don't know if somebody could see that in
7,500.
Okay, that's okay.
Okay, yeah, that didn't sound right. So
Yeah,
all right.
it makes it sound to me right either. So.
Okay. It's gonna
And
be
Your
a
Honor, to be clear, I think the defense is possibly confused. So because the defense was making this argument on Saturday as well. This case, these warrants weren't served until last week, Mr. Cook. So he hasn't been in jail for weeks and weeks and weeks without a hearing. These warrants were served on November 8th. He was on Saturday SEA. Then he was reset. He's been reset twice.
Okay.
all right. So it's gonna be a $500 good bond. No further contact with the alleged victim. Stay away from the incident location. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Those are the only conditions on Judge Mincy's bond. Is that right, Ms. Desiano?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so I'm gonna add $500 to basically to that bond. All right. Good luck to you, Mr. Tutman.
Next, Your Honor, we're gonna go to position number 2, Ms. Hannah Blakely.
Hello.
Hi, Ms. Blakely. Good afternoon. You've been charged in case 24 CR 007606C, battery, family violence, and 3 count of cruelty to children in the 3rd degree. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
No.
Oh, first arrest. Okay, thank you. Ms. Desiano?
Your Honor, this incident happened back on October 6th. Officers were dispatched to 8090 Adair Lane in Sandy Springs regarding a domestic dispute. The victim in this case is the defendant's sister, Deshante Taylor. She told police that her sister had been living with her for a couple months, and there was an argument. The victim kicked the defendant out of the residence that night. The victim went to sleep while the defendant and her boyfriend were packing up the defendant's personal belongings. And she advised that the defendant entered her bedroom and began to strike her in the head and face with a closed fist. And the victim then struck back in self-defense. The defendant and her boyfriend fled the scene prior to police arrival. However, the victim's 3 minor children, initials RT, KT, and LL, were all present during this altercation. We have been in touch with Ms. Taylor today. She states that they're sisters. They no longer live together. She has not seen or spoken to the defendant since this incident. And she is okay with no violent contact, but does want her to continue to stay away from her residence. So Judge, with that, the state's requesting an SOB through pretrial, no further violent contact, stay away from the incident location, anger awareness, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol. And if Your Honor can sound for Ms. Taylor, I believe she's on the line.
Yes,
Hello.
Ms. Taylor, if you would
Yes.
like to address the court, I'll need for you to raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can place your hand down. What would you like to tell the court?
Okay, I would like to tell the court that it wasn't, I don't understand. Okay, so it wasn't like a fight. It was like, we had a argument that night, but she was at work. It was through text messages, and it wasn't like no serious thing. The neighbors called the police because she knew she's old and she knew kids were in the house, but the kids weren't in the room when the situation happened. So that's why I was confused about the child cruelty, because I don't believe that she should have those type of charges. I don't believe she should have no charges because we're sisters. We have altercations, but the kids weren't in the room when the situation happened, and but they were in the house. So that's probably why the lady called the police. Well, that's what she said. Why she called the police.
Okay, so it's my understanding, that, you don't mind having contact with your sister, but you want her to stay away from the residence at this point. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Appreciate you
Your Honor,
being here.
may I inquire the witness briefly? Ms. Taylor, where
Yes.
were your children when this altercation happened?
The altercation happened in my room. They didn't even see it. They were in their room. Like when she first came in, they were in their room. They yelled that my sister was here. And that's when they woke me up basically screaming like, Hannah's here. But they was not in my room when it happened. Like I was getting out of the bed when it happened. That's why I was confused on.
Okay, were they within earshot of what happened?
They were in their room, like I guess the neighbor, because the door was open. So the neighbor, I don't even think I didn't see them at all. So I don't know where they were, but I think they were in their room.
Okay, and how far away is their room from your room?
It's far. It's like all the way on the other side of the house.
Okay, nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you.
Mr. Cook?
Your Honor, we have no problem with the stairway. Certainly no problem with the signature bond. No further violent contact. We would object to any anger management course at this point.
Okay. For each of the cruelty charges, it'll be a $500 signature bond through pretrial level 1. For the battery, $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. Makes for a total of a $2,500 signature bond through pretrial level 1. No further violent contact with Ms. Taylor. Stay away from the incident location. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Ms. Blakely.
Your Honor is going to be position number 11, Mr. Scott.
Hey, Yon, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Mr. Scott. Good afternoon. You have been charged in case 24 CR 007614C with battery family violence and simple battery family violence. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
Hold on. Third arrest, 2016, Driving without a valid license conviction, 2014 hit and run conviction.
Yes, Ms. Allen.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident from March of 2024. So March the 5th of 2024 at about 7:30 p.m., police were called to 751 Fairburn Road Southwest to an apartment or unit there, 1123. They spoke with the victim, Jayana Smalls, Jayana. She reported that she and her boyfriend had argued and he'd come to her residence to pick up his belongings, and that they had arranged for that. But when she got home, he was already there waiting for him. She told him she wasn't going to allow him to go inside. She'd bring his things to him. He got upset when she threw his items in the hallway and he began kicking the door. She opened the door to prevent it from breaking because he wouldn't stop kicking it. And at that point, the defendant grabbed her by her face. She had visible marks on her face from where he dug his nails into her cheeks, and he slammed her head against the wall. He actually had someone with him who convinced him it was time to go. She identified the defendant for police. They saw the visible small cuts on her face as a result of being grabbed. We spoke to Mrs. Small. She said that she and the defendant are no longer in a relationship and they share no children. She'd like no contact. We're asking for a $2,000 SOB through pretrial. No contact with Mrs. Smalls. Again, her first name is Janaya, Jayana, maybe Jayana, excuse me. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons. Thank you.
If Ms. Smalls is on the line and wishes to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so.
I'm here, but I can't activate my camera saying the host have to.
Would you like to address the court at this point, Ms. Jayana?
I do.
Okay, so if we can see if we can activate her camera for her, please.
Who is the judge? I'm sorry.
The name is Jayana Jefferson on the screen. Okay, yes, good afternoon, ma'am. If you can raise your right hand for me, do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, you can place your hand down. What would you like to tell the court, ma'am?
I would like for the court to acknowledge that Mr. Scott or Dartavius, he's not a violent person, has never been a violent person. Within the 4 years that we have dated, I've never been in fear of my life. He's a mentor, a coach. You know, he has 2 little boys that he take great care of. I will say that day, I wish things could have, been handled a little bit different. Do I think that we were acting off emotions? Yes, absolutely. But however, just wish the best towards him, wish he go on with his life, and hope that this is a lesson learned, as well as, maybe recommended taking anger management or anything. But like I said, he's never been a violent person. This has been the first time in the 4 years that we have ever encountered something like that. So.
Okay, and it's my understanding that you wish to have no further contact and for him to stay away from the residence. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you for being here this afternoon, Ms. Jefferson.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Mr. McLean.
No objection, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, for the battery, it'll be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. For the simple battery, $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. Makes for a total of a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. No further contact with the alleged victim. Stay away from her residence, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Scott.
Your Honor, this is going to be position number 1, Mr. Andres Anderson.
Afternoon, Judge. Good afternoon, Mr. Anderson. Let's see, you have been charged in case 24 CR 007605Y with possession of marijuana less than an ounce, possession of dangerous drugs, and drugs not in the original containers. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
Fifth arrest. Last arrest was in September. Sale of marijuana. What else? That's 24 PI 006416. Got an open case out of Kentucky for DUI. 2022 FTA. That's it.
And Your Honor,
Yes.
the open case for sale of marijuana, there's also a charge for possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. He's out on a $5,100 surety bond for that. In this case, it happened on the 11th. Officers responded to the Ramada Hotel at 5010 Old National Highway regarding a call from, I believe, a bondsman requesting police presence to arrest another individual who had an active warrant. The defendant was with that individual, and with the help from the management of the location, the bondsman made contact with the parties. The defendant was detained because he was believed to be armed, and he was found in possession of a black Beretta APX, a pill bottle with a different individual's name on it, with 2 pills of quetiapine fumarate, which the retail name is Seroquel, and a partially smoked marijuana joint. In the felony matter that he has open, Your Honor, that he's out on bond for, he was ordered to have no firearms and no drugs without a valid prescription. So of course he's in violation of that bond order, and the DA's office has been notified of that. So for this case, Judge, we're requesting a $500 surety bond on each count, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol. Thank you.
Mr. Cook?
Your Honor, my client is 26 years old. He's a native of Atlanta. He's not currently working. We understand the background and the charges, and we would be asking to keep the bond as low as possible, given his modest financial circumstances.
All right, it's gonna be a $500 signature bond through the jail on each charge, makes it a total of a $1,500 signature bond through the jail. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Anderson. We have next.
It's gonna be position number 6, Mr. Copeland.
Good afternoon, Mr. Copeland. You have been charged in case 24 CR 007596B with giving false information to law enforcement and criminal trespass and damage to property. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
Second arrest. Got an open battery DV. 23 CR 005-270B.
Bessiano?
Your Honor, we don't have a ton of information on this one yet. We've requested the report, but we don't have it back yet. This incident took place on November 10th. Incident location is 50 Mount Zion Road, Atlanta. The warrant is very bare bones. It says the defendant damaged the victim, Raticia Pickett's door by ramming the door with his body until the door broke. And he gave the officer a false name of Miles Morales. Your Honor, we're requesting a $1,000 surety, $500 each count. No further contact with the victim. Stay away from the incident location. No weapons, drugs, or alcohol. And if you can sound for Ms. Pickett.
If Ms. Raticia Pickett is on the line and wishes to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. Yes, Mr. Cook.
Yes, Your Honor, my client is 18 years old. He does community work. No more detail. He has a GED. Given his record, we would be seeking, and it is kind of a bare bones affidavit. We would be seeking a signature bond at whatever level the court deems appropriate.
And Judge, the open battery case is not this same victim, and it looks like he's in diversion for that.
All right, for each charge, it's going to be a $500 signature bond through the jail. Makes for a total of $1,000 signature bond through the jail. No further contact with Ms. Pickett. Stay away from the Mount Zion Road address. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Copeland.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Your Honor,
Yes,
position number 4 is a waiver, Curtis Cofield.
okay. Mr. Cofield has been charged in case 24 CR 007608G with simple battery. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
2024 simple battery, 2024 trespass conviction, 2023 FTA, couple of probation violations from 2022, 2022 battery, simple battery conviction, 2021 battery against a female who was pregnant conviction. I got a 2020 contempt of court conviction, 2019 battery conviction.
Graciano.
Your Honor, this incident happened on November 11th at Grady. The victim in this case is a nurse there. Her name is Chandrika Barkley. She was evaluating the defendant who had been brought in by EMS. And while evaluating him, he lunged toward her and struck her with a closed fist several times aggressively. This was witnessed by several Grady employees, including Grady security. And also the defendant admitted to striking her. He pled on the jail jury calendar in August 26th to battery. And in that case, he attacked the woman who runs the showers for the homeless people at Grady. And he actually, he punched her square in the face and broke her nose. And we had requested that case be upgraded. The DA declined it. It looks like he pled out back in August, and here we are. And obviously he has a lot of violence in his history. One of the terms of his probation is to stay away from Grady. It doesn't even have a provision that unless seeking medical treatment. However, in this case, it does look like he was brought in via ambulance and was being seen. And certainly the nurses there can expect some levels of violence with people that are going through episodes. However, it's just unacceptable for all of these employees at Grady to continue to be injured by this individual. He's never been ordered to undergo an MH or a BH. And at this point, given how he ended up there, perhaps that's the next step in looking into what we can do to help this man. But as far as his bond is concerned, we're requesting a $1,500 surety, no contact with the victim, Chandrika Barkley, another stay away unless seeking medical treatment, an MH or a BH, and no weapons, drugs, or alcohol. And if Your Honor can sound for Ms. Barkley.
If Ms. Barkley is on the line and wishes to address the court, now is your opportunity. Mr. Cook.
Your Honor, we think after having spoken with him, we think that a BHET is in order, and I can certainly request the social workers to undertake that. As far as the bond, given his history, we would again, he's not working. We would ask for the lowest possible bond the court deemed appropriate. Nothing further.
It'll be a $1,500 good bond, a social worker visit for a BHET, stay away from Grady, no further contact with Miss Barkley, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. And if you'll have the social worker report to the SAP the findings, we'll take a look at it in 2 weeks. Okay. All right, does that conclude the 2 o'clock calendar? If so, whenever Ms. Bridgewater is ready.
Okay, once again, the reset date for the SAP calendar is November 26th. Position number 1 is reset further notice with a total $1,500 SOB through the jail. Position 2 is reset further notice with a total $2,500 SOB through pretrial. Position number 3 is reset further notice with a $3,000 SOB through pretrial. Position number 4 is going to the SAP calendar with a $1,500 good bond. 5 is reset further notice with a total $3,000 SOB through pretrial. 6 is reset further notice with a $1,000 total SOB through the jail. 7, reset further notice with a total $1,500 SOB through pretrial. 8 is going to the SAP calendar with a total $3,000 cash only bond. 9 is going to the SAP calendar with a $2,500 total good bond. 10 is going to the SAP calendar with a total $3,000 good bond. 11 is reset further notice with a total $3,000 SOB through pretrial. 12 is going to the SAP calendar with a $500 good bond. And 13 is reset further notice with a total $3,000 SOB through pretrial. Are there any questions, comments, or otherwise?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you all.
Yeah.
Have a good rest of your afternoon. Ms. Bridgewater, if you'll get me that paperwork, I'll get it back to you as soon as possible, and I will see y'all on Thursday this week.
Thank you.
Thank you,
All right,
Judge.
take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.